It's hard to believe that just over a month ago, this stretch of Hurricane Creek, known as Largen Shoals, looked to be this beautiful. The flowers were in bloom, the water was up just enough to make a wonderful paddle trip. Not only are the flowers in the water beautiful, but so are some of the historic markers along the creek, such as the railroad trestle. It towered above the creek as an iconic memorial to past engineering. The superstructure set a frame for the flowers along the creek that was unmatched by any man-made frame you could buy. Construction began on the bridge in 1909 and was completed in 1913. Since it had stood here through all of our lives and most of our grandparents' lives, many in the community considered it to be indestructible. All of that changed on April the 27th, 2011, when the whole community's lives were changed in a matter of seconds due to an F4 tornado that ripped through our area.
This is spooky. All that fog's coming up off the creek. Heading right into the storm. I've never seen anything like this. Lived on this creek a long time. There it is right there. Get down! Get down!
Then, as quickly as it appeared, it was gone, racing over the mountains, taking with it any innocent notion that our lives would never change. As the monster raced over the mountain toward Jefferson County, I got my first look at the destruction in our neighborhood. It looked to be complete. For the first time in my life, I could see the rock bluff a half a mile away. A few days later, I was fortunate enough to get a flight with South Wings to where I could look down and see the full devastation. It had cut a clean path all the way through Tuscaloosa, devastating Rosedale, 15th Street, Alberta City. When it reached the Crescent Ridge, it seemed to explode and become nearly twice its width. Following that path, it came across Hurricane Creek and did something that no one thought was possible. It took down the longest and the highest hand-riveted railroad trestle in the southeast. It was easy to tell from the road leading out of Chalet Ridge that the railroad had taken a hit, but nothing prepared me for what I saw from the airplane. Dead in the heart of the path were my friends Mike and Ken Largen's houses. Mike's house took the worst hit. Ken seemed to have been better off. As we approached the bridge, it became evident that there had been a total blowdown through the forest. Right upstream from the bridge, we followed the Hope-Peterson cutoff road around to where the destruction began. It seemed to start at the edge of my property line and go northward up the creek around the Watson's Bend to the railroad trestle. Until I saw it from the air, it was hard for me to imagine how railroad ties wound up in my yard a half a mile away. Railroad spikes were driven into the ground up to the head, all over our backyard. The foreman at Scott Bridge Building Company told me that some of the railroad ties had been found as much as a mile away. Until I saw it from the air, it was hard for me to understand how that was possible. But this was a monster that nobody had ever dealt with before, and in fact, the bridge was gone. To address the damage to the trees, we brought in an expert from Northern California, Mr. Russell Freeman. I first met Russell in Gulfport, Mississippi, where he was working to restore some of the live oaks that had been damaged in the hurricane. It came as great comfort when the foreman on the site told me that the new bridge would be replaced using part of the old trestle and built along the same lines as the old bridge.
I don't even know where to start thinking. I mean, I'm seeing one of these towers going that way and another one coming this way, and I can't even imagine any force that would be able to do that at all. And then I see these sheared off trees everywhere. I mean, look at one of those ties up there bent one way and the other way.
What about these railroad irons?
Bent like U's? You can almost write your name with these things. That's incredible. Incredible's just not even an adequate word. Perplexing. I'll go with that.
Along with Russell, we've spoken with the owner of the bridge company and met with officials on site for a tour of the area and what they were planning to do. I was impressed with the concern that was given to the best management practices for the road leading down along the creek bank to replace the bridge. On April 27th, everything looked to be a total disaster, but with the help of Russell Freeman and Jim Kelly of EcoLogic from Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and a partnership with Scott Bridge Builders, the Friends of Hurricane Creek will once again make it a safe paddle trip to come to the Hope-Peterson Cutoff Bridge. It'll take generations for the forest to return to its former beauty, but with a little gentle nurturing, the seed stock is already here. All we have to do is remove some of the heavy debris and allow it to come back on its own. It'll be fun to watch this restoration project as it takes us into future generations.